Hey, I'm Mike, and today I'm going to show you how to build this awesome rustic TV stand. It's got shiplap sides, a really smooth top, adjustable feet, and it's got these brackets in the corner that we painted black, and it really gives it that rustic look. It's got the X style in the back, man. This thing is built to last. So let's get started right now. To start this project, we'll start at the miter saw, and we'll take a 2x10 by 8 foot, cut off the ends, and we'll cut one piece at 38 inches. That should leave us a leftover of about 57.5 inches. Then we'll take it over to the table saw and we'll cut the rounded edge off of both pieces. We'll take our 2x10, that's 38 inches. We'll cut 4 pieces at 2 inches out of that piece. These will be for the front and back rails of the top and bottom. Then we'll take our leftover 2x10, that's about 57 inches, and we'll cut one strip that's 2 inches wide. Then we'll set our fence to 1.5, and we'll cut another strip at 1.5 by 1.5. Then we'll just set our fence to 3/4, and we'll cut another strip. These two will be for the outsides of the shelves. The 3/4 inch will go in the back because we're going to have a detail on there. You'll see that in a little bit. Then we'll go back over to the miter saw and we'll take our 2-inch strip that's 57 inches and we'll cut 4 pieces out of it at 13 inches. These will be for the end rails. Then we'll take our 1.5 by 1.5 inch piece and we'll cut it to 31.5. Same thing with the 3/4 inch piece. Now we'll move on to cutting the legs. We'll start at the miter saw and we'll take one 2x4 that's 8 feet long and we'll cut it into 4 23-inch pieces. And we'll cut one piece at about 16 inches. These will be for the feet. Then it's over to the table saw, same thing as before, we'll cut off the rounded edges, and then we'll set our fence to 3 inches and cut our legs to their final dimension. Alright, then once again we're back to the miter saw, and we're going to take our 16-inch by 3-inch piece, and we're going to cut it into 2.5-inch pieces. If you're not comfortable with this, make sure you clamp it down so that you have your pieces secure. Otherwise, just be extremely careful, and we'll cut 4 pieces at 2.5 inches. Then we'll set our adjustable square to 1.5 inches. We'll make sure that the grain is going up and down, and we'll come in 1.5 inches. Then we're going to go from our 1.5 inch mark to the opposite corner. Just like that. So then I just came up with this crazy idea to clamp my piece down so I don't have to hold it and it's at the right angle. You could easily clamp it and use a jigsaw or a bandsaw if you have one. This seems to work out pretty good, so I'm just going to stick with this. We'll cut all 4 of them the same. And there you go, our feet are cut. Now we'll have just enough room to put our adjustable feet in the bottom. It's a little more difficult to do it this way, but you want to keep the grain going vertical so that it looks like one piece when it's put together with the legs. If you have a better way of doing this or any ideas about it, let me know in the comments below. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. And now that a lot of our main pieces are cut, we're going to take our long 2-inch strips and our 4 3-inch strips and we're going to put them off to the side. And now we have our 13-inch pieces and our 31.5-inch pieces. And we're going to put pocket holes in these. We'll put pocket holes at both ends of the 13-inch and both ends of the 31.5 inches. And then we'll be good to go. So I just took our 38 inches and our 13 inches and I made these frames. I made 2 of them. One will be for the top and one will be for the bottom. To build these frames was real easy. All we did was glue, clamp, and pocket hole screw our 13-inch pieces inside of our 31.5-inch pieces. And that's it. We tried to line up the corners and the edges and we're good to go. So then we have our legs that'll go in between like this. And just looking at this right now, I realize that these do need pocket holes at each end as well, on the inside. So we'll just put our pocket holes in our legs now and get started with the rest of it. Alright, taking a look at this thing now, we're going to start cutting our sheet goods. So we need our middle shelf to be 13.5 by 34 inches. Then we need 2 side pieces at 13.5 by 23 inches and our bottom shelf will be 13 inches by 34 inches. And it was at this point right here that I realized I cut it the wrong size. What a bummer. That's all right. I'll have more scrap and less left over, but we have the material to cover it. We'll just cut another piece and we'll be good to go. Next, we need to add the pocket holes into our plywood. That'd be in the shelves and the sides. For the middle shelf, I'm not putting any pocket holes at the end because it's going to rest on the T111 siding. So I just have a couple across the front and the back on the shelf, all the way around on the bottom and all the way around on the side panels. After the shelves and the sides are all cut, we're going to cut these T111 siding, I think that's what it's called, and we're going to cut it into strips and glue it and nail it on there so it looks like shiplap. There's a little detail in between the slats on the plywood. We're going to cut those off so we just have the strips themselves. Then it's back over to the miter saw. We'll cut them to 13 and 7/16, just shy of 13 and a half. Okay, this is great. We did a lot of prep work. Just about everything is cut except for the top. Everything is pocket holed, and we're ready to start assembling. So we have our base frame here, and we're going to start with this, and we're going to take our adjustable square, set it to 1/4 inch, and mark off each corner so that we can take our legs and put those on the marks. Then we'll pocket hole screw those in, kind of like that, and then we'll put our panel in. It doesn't matter if the pocket holes are on the inside or outside. I'll probably put them on the inside just out of habit, but you won't see either side. So then we'll put this in here, and then once we have it to this point, we'll just put our little slats on there, kind of like our shiplap. So let's get right into that. So now looking at it from the inside, we're going to line our plywood up with the inside edge of a 2-inch strip. Just like that. We'll glue it and put our 1 pocket hole screw in the middle. Now we'll take our adjustable square again and we'll butt that up till we get the right dimension on both sides. Okay, once that's even, we'll put a clamp on it and we'll put the next 2 pocket hole screws in. Okay, to do the top is pretty basic, just like the bottom. We'll take our adjustable square, put it on our 2x4 on the inside, and move our plywood up to it. Clamp it and pocket hole screw it. Then we'll do the other side, make sure that that's good and square, hit the 2 middle screws, and just like that, this side's done. We'll do the same thing to the other side. All right, now that the bottom and the sides are done, we're going to add our tabletop fastener slots to the top. I just have a 1/4 inch round over bit in my router, and I have a little fence on it, and I'm just going to put my grooves in. Next, we'll attach the top. We'll just lay the top down with the pocket holes facing down, and we'll attach it just like we did the bottom. We'll measure in from the corners, and we'll line up our sides that way. You may need some clamps to tweak it into position, but it should fit right together. We'll move right into putting the feet on. I just have glue around the outside of the edge of the foot. I put a dab of super glue in the middle, and I lined it up perfectly, and I put it on there. That should hold it good and tight, as you can see. I did put a clamp on it just for good measure because I am going to drill it. So I just took the drill bit, put it on an angle, and drilled my hole. Then I took a 2 1/4 inch trim screw, and I drove that all the way down, burying the head. And just like that, the feet are on. All right, this thing's starting to look like a TV stand. Now we're going to start putting our shiplap sides on. These are just the pieces we cut earlier. This should fit right in there now. And we'll glue them and brad nail them all the way up. And we'll leave just a tiny little bit in between so you can see the shiplap. We'll start at the bottom, work our way up, and we'll have to cut the last piece to fit in there. And there you have it, man. This thing's looking pretty sweet. We're looking real good now. We flipped it over, and we're going to put our side supports in. This will be the front, so we're going to use the 1.5 by 1.5. The back, we're going to use the 3/4, and we're going to bring it to the inside of the leg. I just have these set 10.5 inches from the top and 10.5 inches from the bottom. We're just going to glue it, face clamp it, and pocket hole screw it. Sweet. Now we're going to move on to putting the shelves in. I just put some clamps on here so that I can push down on my material to make it even from the side view, and we'll pocket hole screw it in. We'll go around and put the middle shelf in. Then we'll follow the same procedure to put the top in. We just want to make sure that it's even so people see a nice finished product. Then we'll put the slats on the inside. We'll just tip it on its side and start at one end and work our way up to the top. We'll have to cut that piece as well. Then it's just a matter of gluing it and brad nailing it in. Now we'll take a look at the edge detail. I just took a scrap piece of 2x4 and I cut it on the table saw. I set my fence to 3/16 and I just started ripping strips. It doesn't really matter if there's saw blade marks or burn marks because this is a rustic furniture. We're not going to give it a crazy sanding anyways. Now I've just taken the pieces and cut them to size on the miter saw. I'm just going to glue them and brad nail them in all the way around. I'm going to do both sides and the insides the same way. We'll measure and cut each one so they get a perfect fit. To finish the cabinet base off, we just have to put this X detail in. If you're not familiar with the X detail, I'll put a card above to a short video that'll show you how to do this step by step, real easy. We'll get this installed and our base cabinet will be just about done. And just like that, this thing's ready for sanding. To make the tabletop, I'm going to take this 8-foot 2x10 and cut it into two 40¼ inch pieces. Then it's back over to the table saw. We're going to use our joiner sled and we're going to cut off the rounded edges off both these pieces. Then we'll put the good edge against the fence and cut it to 9 inches. We'll put our pocket holes in across one side of one board. Then we'll glue it, clamp it, and pocket hole screw it together. Alright, we're all done with the top. I waited for the glue to dry, took the clamps off, hit it with some 80 grit with the sandpaper, and then rounded over the edges with my 1/8 inch round over. Now we'll hit everything with the 120. That's the top and the cabinet. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it. It ain't no fun, everybody knows that. We're just going to get through it and make it look good. Just a couple of things that I do want to mention is that we want to round over our feet just at the very bottom of the legs. That'll prevent splitting or being caught on the carpet or something like that that might split that bottom leg. And the other thing is that when you're doing the corners, make sure you round over that real good so your bracket fits on there good. It should fit just fine after that. Now that everything's all sanded and we're good to go there, we're going to start staining it. We're just going to use this Minwax driftwood. I got some gloves, some rags, and even a cheap paintbrush to get into some of the hard spots. We'll start with the bottom on both the top and the case. Once we get the bottoms all set, we'll flip it over and get everything in the side view. We'll make sure we cover the whole thing completely. Alright, the stain's all dry, it's sat overnight, we're good to go on this. Now we're going to start putting our Minwax polycrylic on. We're just going to give it a couple coats, sanding lightly in between, and give it a real nice finish. Pay close attention and make sure you don't have any drip marks or runs. Okay, the polycrylic's all dry. We're going to put our adjustable feet in. If you're unfamiliar with the adjustable feet, I'll put a link in the description below and a card above to a really short video. Super easy to do. Alright, you know what time it is. It's time for our Johnson's paste wax with some 4/0 steel wool. We got a pile of rags here and we're just going to wipe it on with the steel wool, wipe it off with a clean rag and get it nice and smooth. We're going to do the top and the cabinet. And the reason we use the paste wax is it really will take your furniture to the next level. And now to install these brackets, you can see I painted them black. I'm going to hand put the screws in so I don't mess up the paint. And we're just going to start at one end and use a self-centering drill bit, drill a hole, go to the opposite side, line it up, drill our holes, put our screws in, and then drill the other 2 holes and we'll be all set. We'll go around and do the whole cabinet that way. Alright, we got our brackets on it. This thing is flipped over on the top, and now we're just going to space it out evenly and put our tabletop fasteners in. And now that the top is on, this thing is all done. This has got some great rustic details, like the corner brackets, the X on the back, and the shiplap on the sides. I really like how we paid attention to keep the grain going in the same direction between the feet and the legs. Makes it look like one piece. I'll put a link in the description below to some of the materials and some of the products I used during this build. I'll also have a link in the description to these awesome t-shirts, these Woodcraft 716. Show your support, buy a t-shirt. The money goes directly back into making content for this channel. And don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that bell icon so you can stay informed with everything woodworking. And remember to always create and inspire. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video. Just like that.